All right, everyone. Welcome to another No Gi Required podcast. And I'm here with my great friend, Jay Zeballos, and with his brother who doesn't like to talk to us, Mike Zeballos.
He's a behind the camera kind of guy.
And I will have here too someone that I know for, I don't know, a lot of the guys that come here and I invited to a podcast. I know them for quite some time, and we just wanted people to hear their story. And I'm sure a lot of people will relate it to this gentleman over here. I don't know how long do I know you, Marcel Santos.
And since the 90s.
I don't know.
A very long time.
When I was a teenager. Hey, it's a lot of time, man.
Yeah, I was a kid too when I met Marcel.
Oh, yeah.
Marcel was just a baby.
We're all 28 today.
I know.
Man, Marcel, to start out is thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to share some good things. I don't know if you don't know some of the things I'm going to ask you. Just don't get mad. It's just to get out of you.
Oh,
and,
this is going to be a roast,
yeah,
right,
it's a
Jay?
roast.
Yeah,
It's not a
there you go,
podcast, it's a roast. All right.
No,
Let's do this.
The interesting is I ended up meeting Marcel through his one of his brothers, which came and started trained with me first. And that was Gabriel, and which I know him quite well for a lot of years. And through him, I ended up meeting your whole family. You have a total of, what, 5?
We're 5 siblings.
5 siblings, and I met all of them, and they're great kids. Now, I guess, young adults. The question I have is, I remember at one time I was with your brother, ended up going to your house, and your father wants so bad you to start training Jiu-Jitsu. You sit in the couch, and what did you tell him?
Well, I remember that day. That day is very funny because I had already a little bit of experience with Jiu-Jitsu, but I had a previously bad experience one day on the mats, and I was like, you know what? I'm just done with training, man. I was 12 years old. I wanted nothing to do with training, but you came over. You wanted to meet me. You wanted to bring me to train, and my dad is like pushing me. I'm like, no, Dad, like I don't want to train, you know. My dad's like, man, if you go train with Jean-Jacques, I promise you, you will be a black belt one day. I'm like, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Fast forward 20 some years later, here we are. Yeah.
Oh, man. And for a lot of you guys don't know, Marcel, even on Instagram, say Marcel Art Studios. This gentleman is an artist. He likes to drawing. And I think it's very interesting because when that all starts with you. I remember mentioning something as a kid, what you used to do, taking the table to a middle of the park and start drawing stuff.
Man, well, it's everybody loves when I tell this story. It's super fun. I love looking back, you know, very humble beginnings, but it all started when just in high school, people wanted my drawings. And then people just randomly, hey, man, if you draw me this character, if you draw me this Batman, if you draw me this Superman, I'll give you $5, I'll give you $10. Next thing you know, at the end of the week, I had a couple $100 in my pocket, right? And I remember coming home like with a wad of cash, like, Dad, look at me. It's like, what are you doing, selling drugs? How are you making money? You know what I mean? I'm like, no, Dad, I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm just, doing what I love, and people love it, So they used to pay me, it just went from there, and it's escalated.
When that started, in what age you thought with yourself, no, I think I'm pretty good at that. I think I can do something. Did you end up going to school, or because to me, a lot of the artists, man, they born with something a little extra to follow and do that. I know we have schools that train and teach you, but first you have to like, and you have to have some kind of a extra on you that, man, I'm horrible and trying to draw things like, gee. And I see some of the people in a young age, they never been in school and they just fantastic. When did you realize that?
I actually never went to school for this. My dad is or was an artist back then. He used to do a lot of airbrush stuff and watercolor stuff. And I remember as a kid hanging out in his studio and just practicing and painting and drawing alongside him. But if going back to your question to how did this all started, well, I've always loved to do art, right? It's something that I've always liked to do, but how did it get to a point where I can make a living off of this? It's actually a funny story. In high school, I arrived from Brazil here in the 90s, and I went straight to high school. Like I remember I arrived here in July, and in August I was already in school, and then after a few years, you learn there's a different culture here than, I'm used to in Brazil. And one of the things here that they like to do, they have dances. Everything, they have a dance for this, they have a dance for that, they have an event for this, an event for that. And I remember I wanted to take this really pretty girl that I used to like to a prom or something, but I had no money. And I remember one weekend, I went with my family to the beach. Then I saw these guys at the beach, man, at the boardwalk in Venice. They had like this setup, and they were just sketching people for money. And I was like, shit, man, maybe I can do that too. One thing led to another. I remember I took a bus to Venice really early in the morning. I put my little thing there, and I was like, $20 or whatever. I'll draw, you and your girlfriend or, boyfriend or whatever. And I started doing that. Next thing you know, I was making money. And I had enough money to, get a limo, rent a tux, go to prom. I pay, you know what I mean? So in high school, all my teachers are like, you gotta go to college, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. I was always a good boy, so I never disagree with my instructors. But in my head, I was like, man, fuck this, man. I'm gonna draw and paint for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
To have a craft, yeah.
Yeah, and it pays off, But and after it's all said and done, I did my dance. I went to prom or whatever, and then I graduated high school. Every weekend, I used to go Santa Monica, Venice, and then City Walk. Right, but in City Walk, I got into trouble because apparently you have to have like a license to do that.
Permit. Okay.
So imagine like an 18-year-old Marcel. Like I just go to City Walk and I set up a little table there, and the other artists like 20 feet away from me to the right, 20 feet away from me to the left. They're all mad at me. Like, who the hell is this guy? And people they used to love what I was doing because they came up to me, with their significant others, like couples, and I used to draw them like doing like naughty stuff, so it was hilarious, man. So the guy came up to me with his wife. I'm like, hey, how long you been married? The guy's like, I've been married for 20 years. First of all, disclaimer, I was always a very mature kid for my age, you know what I mean? So I remember drawing them like saying something like, this is a rated PG podcast. So,
I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
You know where this is going.
We all got the idea.
You know what I mean? And man, people love that. They love that. I don't know what it is. People love like the naughty stuff, So I look to the guy on my right. I look to the guy on my left. There's nobody on them, and there's like a line of people in front of me with the couples. They just want me to draw them. Right. And then I remember the security came up. Hey, man, I've been getting some complaints. You got to get out of here. You could get arrested for this. I'm like, oh, shit. Then I look far away. I see a couple sheriffs coming my way. I'm like, oh, man, I'm out of here. I grab all my stuff. I had a little box of money. I close that, put it in my bag, and jump in the subway and get out before I can get in trouble. But that's when I discovered that I can make a living with art, which I loved it.
In all this time, when did Jiu-Jitsu get involved in your life? I know you had that experience in doing that, and by your younger brother training Jiu-Jitsu, I'm sure he kind of pushed you. And when that get involved in your life, when did you start and realize, no, I'm going to go to Jiu-Jitsu and let me try this? Yeah,
Jiu-Jitsu to me, it's always been so different. And I look at some of the people joining Jiu-Jitsu today, join your academy, completely different than when I joined. Because when I started training Jiu-Jitsu, to me, it was specifically for self-defense. I grew up in a rough neighborhood, in São Paulo. It's rough. You hear stories. And I remember my mom always wanted me to do martial arts. And then my uncle, her younger brother, was one of the first people who were teaching me Jiu-Jitsu. I was just a kid, man. I was 10, 9, even younger than that. And, I trained with him a little bit. And then, sometimes I had a great time. Sometimes I didn't have a good experience. And I just stopped. But over here, coincidentally, my brother met you. You came to my house, and I was like, "Oh, this guy is a cool guy." You know what I mean? Like maybe I can have fun over there at his school. And I remember one day, my brother gave me, I don't know if it was for my birthday or whatever, but he gave me one of your shirts, right? And I was wearing your shirt, your t-shirt, the old school logo, the RCJ Machado, like shirt. And all the teachers in my school back when I was in high school, they're like, oh shit, you do jiu-jitsu? That's like the Hoist Gracie stuff, UFC. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be wearing these shirts. They're gonna go easy on me, you know what I mean? Because I never like to do homework or nothing. So maybe this will get me out of trouble, And then I was like, maybe I should, after a few encounters with some bullies in school, the whole cliche, I decided to come here and train with you. But it was not until you came, I remember you came with your wife to my house, and we all had dinner. And we just went from there, and next thing you know, 20 some years later, we're doing a podcast, man.
I know, and here in the school, he works here today. He's the manager at the school. I mean, he's the bad cop, and I'm the good cop.
I know, man.
Just to let everyone know that.
I have to do this, guys. I'm sorry if you're listening to this.
Now let me touch on this. I don't know if anyone ever asked you. You, like me, born with something different. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when I was a kid, I could not even find out what exactly was why I born with my hands without 4 fingers. In your case, you have 1 foot that's a bit smaller than the other one.
Yeah.
How did that affect you in the beginning when you're growing up? Because I think we probably do have a very similar situation, even though I'm born in a martial art family, which to me was a huge advantage to a lot of people. But how was that for you? Until you find yourself, no, I don't care if people make fun of me or say something.
To the listeners, I'm very glad that Jean-Jacques actually asked me this, because today I'm 36 years old. Never in my entire life did I speak about this out loud. So this is if people ask me, I talk to them. But this is the first time I'm actually touching the subject. But to answer your question, it wasn't easy. Kids are mean, man. Kids are super mean, and that's actually one of the reasons why I stopped doing jiu-jitsu, because the kids in my class were making fun of me. So, I guess that's actually how you ended up in my house.
They did that to me, and I ended up choking them. Like, more fun you make me, more times I'm gonna choke you.
Believe me, we have but that's the funny story is that's how you end up in my house, because I think my parents they told you, look, this is my son's going through this situation. Like you yourself know how to deal with this, maybe go over and talk to him. So I remember like it felt like kind of like an intervention. That's why I was super defensive when I was a kid. But you came there, you were super nice to me. And I'll never forget it, man. You showed me your hand and you're like, look, man, I know things are tough right now, but I promise you, things are gonna get easier. And before you told me that, I heard that from my parents, my family, from everybody. But what do they know? They're not like me. They're not like you. So it went in one ear and out the other. But when you told me that, it connected. I felt like I had a person who I finally understood what I was going through.
It's kind of being the same shoes as you were.
That most literal sense, yes. And then finally I ended up here, but it was not easy, both physically and emotionally, and it's, I don't know how the hell I made it to black belt today. I just never quit.
Oh, man.
But it's just something that I never let it define me, man. No matter how much I hated or how much it hurt me inside, I just put on a brave face. And every day I came here, I stepped on the mats and I was like, okay, everybody, they accept Jean-Jacques, so they're not going to make fun of me here. And then people, the students, your students, they started praising me. They're like, how cool is this? That's when I started finally becoming okay with myself. You know what I mean? With who I am, and you are who you are. And I learned that from jiu-jitsu.
It's never let other people define who you are, No. And on the same thing, it's with me would say that I never realized or have any thoughts about my hand, and I never crossed my mind that I was different than anybody, because I was always doing the same thing as everybody else. But evidently, yes, you have other kids that point to you and say something. But man, I don't know in your house, but in my house, I grew up with my brothers, my cousins. They all, with the most I would say laughable way, making fun of me and say those things. And when somebody outside says something, I say, man, my brother said something worse than that. It did not affect me as much. But I understand I notice as an instructor in Jiu-Jitsu when people come in and some people do not even realize after a year training with me, like, oh my God, what happened to your hand? They never even realize I don't have fingers. It takes them a while. But I noticed too is the environment that was created on that. I was never made that as a problem. I make fun of myself in front of all the students almost every class. I want to make sure they realize that it's no issues and I don't have any hold back on that, you know? And I noticed that what was the difference on that aspect after you train in Jiu-Jitsu? I know you mentioned that everybody was cool, but what that emotionally and mentally did to you after a few years training Jiu-Jitsu and felt, no, I can be good in Jiu-Jitsu too, regardless.
Well, it's funny because I've been to many doctors growing up. My mom, she always wanted to see what was going on. Obviously, much like yourself, none of the doctors could give us a reason or even a name to why this happened. So, but the one thing that I always had in common is every doctor I've ever visited, they said, no jiu-jitsu, no sports. And the more they told me no, the more I wanted to do it. It's like I go see a doctor today, no more jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I have jiu-jitsu at 6, homie. You know what I mean? And but it took me many years because I started jiu-jitsu when I was really young, man. And Jean-Jacques, you know this as well as I do. Kids are mean. Kids make fun of you. But here in the academy, it was like my safe place. But outside the academy, I still had a lot of issues. I still had a lot of insecurities. Like one of my favorite things to do is to go to the beach. I love going to the beach. To this day, if I have nothing to do, if I want to just sink in and think about paintings or my thoughts, I just drive by myself to the beach and I just watch the water and I put my feet in the sand. But when I was a kid, I never went to the beach with my friends because I was scared that they would make fun of me. So for a better part of my early 20s, I missed out on a lot of fun because of that. And if I could go back in time right now and tell myself, look, just live your life, man, live your life because it is all going to be okay. And it took me a little while, but without jiu-jitsu, this would not be possible. Would not be possible.
Now, I remember watching your development in here, and we all kind of joke around. It's a famous move, but you're kind of known for the twister. Yeah. Was that a result of was that a technique that just called to you?
Well, I actually learned the twister from Eddie and my brother, right? This is back when Eddie Bravo was still a purple belt. So I visited your academy, Jean-Jacques, which, by the way, this is one, no judgment here to anybody, but one of the reasons it took me 2 years to come back here is because when I was changing in the locker room, there was an asshole who was making fun of my foot. And I was like, fuck, now I cannot even train jiu-jitsu. I get this here too. You know what I mean? I was just a kid, like under 15, And but I remember,
for the record, if I was an instructor back then, he would have been head first in the trash can.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, for sure.
But to go back to your question, is Eddie? He was showing my brother Gabriel this technique, which, but with the way that my foot is, and much like how Jean-Jacques' hand can just go under somebody's neck and easily get the choke. Anywhere I am in jiu-jitsu, I can get to the position that Eddie and the 10th Planet people call the truck. Right? Mm-hmm. I can get there from any position you can imagine because of how I am. So that became a super easy move for me to do. So it's something that I do since I was a white belt because to me, it was something like, oh, shoot, there's a lot of things that I cannot do, right? But there's this one thing that I can do so well that a lot of people are not going to do it like me.
Yeah, you turned a handicap into a weapon.
Absolutely, 100%. And I love doing Eddie. Thanks. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for you, and my brother Gabriel, I wouldn't be doing this.
That's cool.
It's the beauty of jiu-jitsu. You can adapt yourself to anything, and it's an ongoing development. Jiu-jitsu never stops developing. And you an example that jiu-jitsu fits in anybody. I mean, anyone out there thinks that you have any issues. In jiu-jitsu, you solve all the issues you have for sure. Based on that is training jiu-jitsu. And I know, how do I define your style in the art that you do? And following that question, is that moments in your life that you have to inspire yourself as you're watching something, is doing something, is walking? What is the inspiration come? Because you're drawing someone's face that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
You know, how that works for you? How's that?
Well,
Is a moment, and how do you get inspired by?
I remember a long time ago, my dad has a friend. My dad used to work for very, very prestigious, art places and companies. He used to work for a really popular one called McCann Erickson. And there was a guy there. His name was Pedro Mauro, right? I still keep in touch with him and on Facebook from time to time. But I remember a long time ago, he told me, look, anyone can draw a character that already exists. Like, what I mean is anybody can draw a Spider-Man, anybody can draw a Superman. But to come up with your own character, that's when your style really emerges. That's when you define who you are. And believe me, that's not easy. That's extremely hard to do. And it took the better part of my career to be able to get to this point. And to answer your question about what inspires and what doesn't inspire, it's basically what I live. You know what I mean? I go out with my friends, we go have a drink. I always have my little notebook with me and a pen. My friends, they always do something dumb. There's always something dumb in my group. You know what I mean? And so they do something. I'm like, okay, well, this is gonna go on a painting. You know, boom, boom, boom. There was this one time I was at a bar with my friend. Usually I don't like to name names, but I'm gonna say Thiago. He's a Brazilian friend of mine. He's he's super funny, but he was trying to pick up some chicks at a bar one time, right? And I was like, okay, man, I just have to entertain. I have to be a wingman. I have to be a real friend, right? So I remember Thiago. He used to always like blonde girls, right? And I was like, Thiago, there's a blonde girl right there, man. Go up to her and just offer her cranberry and vodka, because he's, oh shit, really? And I'm like, all white girls, all blonde girls, they love cranberry and vodka. So he goes there, he goes, bartender, let me get a cranberry and vodka for the lady. And then they ended up hitting off, and he dated her for 2 months. And he came out to me, he's like, oh shit, how did you know that she was gonna, then and obviously at the time I was playing around with him, like stereotype, like, yeah, all these girls, they like cranberry and vodka, but in reality, the truth of the story is I saw her drinking that like a couple minutes before.
Okay.
And I put that on a painting, man. I put that on a painting, and that went for a hefty amount of money, and thank you, Thiago. You know what I mean? Like I live with my friends. They do their stupidity, their funniness, and the random activities, and it's all in some paintings, and people like that. People relate to it.
Because one thing I notice is almost in every artist, in whatever area they are, they see things different than we do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. What has no perception for us,
Yeah.
you already have your inspiration on that.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And capturing the moment, it's like a photographer. So
Yeah.
it's just a little bit different because, like you said, you're kind of taking a mental note of what's going on, the exchange, and then
Yep.
you're gonna capture it on a.
In so many levels, man.
Yeah.
Back when I was just starting, like, when things started getting big, and I sat down and I was feeling actually a little overwhelmed, because you never expect, you just put all your art out there. You think like, man, if I get one bite, if one person buys, the next thing you know, it's like a snowball effect. Like one person buys and the other, and next thing you know, you're scrambling for content. So whenever I get to that scrambling for content mode, I call my boys like, hey man, it's time to do something stupid, man. I'm running out of ideas.
I was going to ask you that. Do you get creative block?
All the time. I actually just got off one of the worst creative blocks of my entire career. It's one thing to have like an artist block, right? And if you're just doing it for fun, But it's one thing like going through a block when you do it for a living, when we're like, oh shit, like this is how I pay my bills. You can't afford to have those. So, I have my solutions. Like one of the things that I love to do when I'm facing artist blocks like that is I put on my gi, man, and I come train.
Yeah.
I don't paint at all for like a week, for 2 weeks, and all I do, man, is I come here, get beat up.
Because I was about to ask, because we went through a very challenging year, and we still do a very challenged time for everyone. How was that for you to have so much time off in your hands the whole year? I mean, you're not able to get out and have fun with your friends.
Yeah, it was super
How was
tough.
that creating point for you?
It was very difficult. One, because you couldn't turn on the TV without getting scared. You know what I mean? Like without getting, oh shit, what's next? And it was super tough. Luckily, what saved me from this was that prior to the harsh year that we all had last year, I already had a collection set up. You know what I mean? So I kind of knew the direction I was going to go with my art and with my new collection. I had to postpone my tour. I had to postpone everything for 2020. Unfortunately, this year didn't start off, you know what I mean? I do all my business in California here, Laguna Beach, but everything is closed. So I can't do shows. I can't do anything. And I can't go out with my friends to get ideas, you know what I mean? But luckily I had everything, lined up. So what really helped me this year was music. Man, I am a big fan of music. You guys can tell that by my new collection. It's all musical.
Yeah.
And so I listen to a lot of music when I'm painting. A lot of music.
And what was the name of that artist, that musician that you just did a frame, a painting for?
Oh yeah. That's actually something that I really hold dear to me, because he is one of my absolute favorite musicians. His name is Sean James. I found out about his music through some people from a video game company that we knew. And we got in touch in social media. And I was like, hey, man, I just want to say I'm a big fan of your work. Your music really helps me and helped me through this time to develop my new collection. I absolutely love it. And then he writes back to me like, oh, shit, man, I'm a fan of your work. And I'm like, oh, it's unbelievable. And I think Sean at the time, he was doing this thing where he was writing the lyrics to his songs and this fine art paper. Super cool, man. And then one thing led to another, and we collab on a project. We did 3 of them. There are only 3 of them in existence, right? He has a song called Crossroads. And Welcome to the Crossroads Show is my new collection that I'm putting out right now. So, we got to talking, and we came up with this project where he would write the lyric to that song, Crossroads, and I would draw my character on the bottom of the lyric. We weren't going to do more than one. It was supposed to be a one-shot thing, but after I got it done and framed, and I was like, oh, crap, the response on Instagram, on Facebook. So I hit up Sean, and I'm like, we need to do more. And so we did 2 more, right? One of them, which is hanging in my studio. The other one, I'm very proud to say, that's hanging on Sean's studio. He actually sent me a photo of him with it in his studio. I think I posted on my Instagram. And the third one we sent to Joe Rogan to his new studio in Austin, Texas.
Which is fan of him too, right?
Oh yeah, Joe also. You should look at Joe. He follows Sean James on Instagram. It's definitely a terrific artist. Really speaks to me. I know my range in music taste varies, man. Jay, how many times have we gone out and I'm putting like different music on my car? You know what I mean? Some days I could be listening to hip hop. The other days I can be listening to country. Sometimes to pop. It changes, But definitely, this was definitely something I truly enjoyed. And if you guys haven't heard, go ahead, man. On Spotify, Sean James, terrific artist. You guys will definitely be a fan.
What would you say someone that, because art in general to me has to have a passion. It's not just the financial that attracts you to do what you do.
Oh, absolutely not.
It's the love of what you do. And I believe if we do what we love, everything ends up falling into. It might take sometimes a little longer, and people sometimes stop before, but trust, if you love what you do, the rewards of what you do in your life will all get in place, for sure. What would you say to someone that is dreaming out there to become an artist, to become famous, to make money? What would be the steps they should take? Evidently, you gotta love what you do.
Yeah,
But what would you say someone say, look, I'm struggling right now, I don't know. Because you live that experience to be up and down, inspire, not inspire, some months better than others. What would you say to the new upcoming artist?
Look, the first thing I'm gonna tell anybody who wants to do anything with art, be it, painting, writing music, acting in a movie, whatever you want to do, you gotta understand that it's not easy. Like it may not look like, but I've been doing what I've been doing for the better part of 10 years. It took me a very, very long time to get here. So before anything, you just gotta be patient with yourself. And the other thing that I tell everybody all the time is that you can't get there alone. If you think you're gonna be a lone wolf, if you think you're gonna, oh, you know what, I don't need nobody, I'll do it on my own, you're completely wrong. I had a lot of friends, a lot of great friends, a lot of fantastic fans that helped me to get where I am today. Like for instance, we have your brother here, Jay, Mike's sitting right over there. I know he doesn't like to be in camera, but I owe Mike a huge thanks because he's helping me put up my version 2 of my website, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's not up yet, but it will be very soon. But like I'm saying, I couldn't do that on my own. Luckily, I have a great friend who volunteered to help me, and you gotta have the right people in your life. Like I have a good friend of mine. His name is Adam Sherman. I'm sure he's a black belt here. You guys know Adam and I became very good friends for the last 10 years.
Yeah, Adam's great.
And he always supports me, man. Like you go to his house, he has an entire wall in his house that he calls the Marcel wall. He has a bunch of my paintings. And then he calls me, hey man, I'm thinking about getting another painting. I feel terrible. I'm like, dude, I don't want to. He never asks for discounts. He always wants to pay. You know what I mean? But having people like that in your life, it's very important, man. You gotta have friends. You gotta have people who back you up. But above all else, you gotta believe in yourself, man. If you're insecure, if you doubt yourself, you're not gonna go anywhere. Just keep going. When the road gets tough, man, don't think it's gonna get easier. It's gonna get even tougher. But eventually, it gets a little easier. But to all my friends, everybody who helps me out and got me to where I am today, a huge shout out to everybody.
How much after you realize that you are a very, very good jiu-jitsu guy, fighter, and train and hustle, put your time out there, how much jiu-jitsu had an influence in you in your life and also on your artistic side as a painter?
Oh man, I'm gonna say this to you guys with all my heart, all my honesty. Without jiu-jitsu, I would be a mess. I would be, man, I don't even know where I would be in life right now. But look, if you're training jiu-jitsu, and even if you're doing jiu-jitsu for a month, for 2 months, you can agree with me that jiu-jitsu is not easy, right? Even you, Jay, as a seasoned black belt, know that jiu-jitsu is not easy, right?
Every day.
So okay, so imagine people like me and people like Jean-Jacques who had to overcome an extra challenge. You think jiu-jitsu is easy? It's not. But imagine doing jiu-jitsu like, Jean-Jacques, he has one hand, and I have a similar thing with my left foot. You know what I mean? That just makes...
I was about to say he has one foot. No, he has both. Just one a little bit bigger than the other, okay?
I knew this was going to be a roast.
But honestly, and I know I speak for the other, like for Professor Mark and the other instructors and stuff here, you guys make such an impact because when you are part of an environment where you have people that have actually had to endure and continue to endure or put up with things that I don't, how can I say, well, I don't think I'm going to come in tonight because my finger's sore or my elbow's a little achy.
You can't talking about finger with me, man.
If you're in front of me or if you're in front of me or in front of Jean-Jacques, like, look, man, save your excuses.
Exactly, it's
save
like
your excuses.
It's like how you just can't. You got to go in there and just keep pushing.
It's one of the part when I'm teaching a choke, I see someone like, oh, I have a hard time choking. I say, man, I don't have a hand and I can choke. That tells me that you have two. You can choke twice as better than me. Then they look at me like, oh, I guess right. I guess I can.
I couldn't relate more to that because there's a lot of things I can't do in jiu-jitsu. Like imagine this. Like, okay, so if you're a jiu-jitsu student, if you're listening to this podcast now, let me paint a picture to you. Imagine you're in class. And then imagine your instructor shows you guys a move, right? And then you just can't get it. You're like, God damn it. This move just does not click with me. Now imagine this. From my point of view, imagine I totally understand the move. The move is easy. I understand the move, but physically, I cannot do the move because of how I am. You know what I mean? Imagine how frustrating that is. But to answer your question, Jean-Jacques, how that brings me, how it influences it in my career and my art and stuff like that, it's because I went through all those hardships from jiu-jitsu.
Now I will tell you something. You can take that as a lesson. When people show me technique in the past, and I felt like you all put it the way you did physically, and this job, I can't do this. First, there's nothing in my life that I say I can't. I tell all my students, you guys witness that. When somebody say I can't, like you already said you can't, I cannot show you anything. You have to convince yourself that you can. But I remember every time someone show you a technique, in my mind, it's not about how hard it is. I say, how much you bet I'm going to do that?
Yeah.
I'm going to use what people think is my weakness to my advantage every single time.
Yeah.
That's my mindset. Somebody say, it's so hard to do it. Man, I can do better. And that's what I have in me. And I want you to, this is very important, regardless if you have any issues or not. Somebody show a technique is never like, oh, this is too hard. I'm going to adjust that my way. I'm going to do my way better than anybody else. And I think jiu-jitsu allows us to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Like few techniques that only Marcel can do. Nobody can do better than you do.
I agree.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
That's why when a technique, maybe it's not part of my arsenal, but I'm going to adjust that to me. And I would do better than anybody else.
But I got to disclose that when I was saying...
That's the way you have to see.
Oh, but...
That's the way you have to think. It's not about physically it's hard. No. Everything's hard in jiu-jitsu. But I adjust to
now as a black belt, I've been a black belt for a little over 7 years. I don't go through those issues anymore. But, for the podcast's sake, this was issues I'd go through when I was a blue, purple belt. When I was a brown belt, I was like, you know what, man, this is
Bring
what
it
is.
on.
Bring
I'll
it on.
do it.
Man.
Bring it on. Show me, this way is not good for me. I'm going to do this way. It's even better.
And sometimes my way works even better, man.
That's that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the point.
And jiu-jitsu is beautiful. And if you're listening to this, you got kids, put them in jiu-jitsu. If you're listening to this and you don't know if you want to join jiu-jitsu school, just do it, man, because you will learn lessons on the mats that no one can teach you, and I learned the best lessons of my life on the mats.
Yeah, 100%.
I think when we're on the mats, we can't lie to ourselves. We start seeing in a certain point of our learning process some kind of a limitation, then soon realize it's no limitation at all. Everything's just what I'm thinking. And if you start slowly changing the mindset about yourself, you see that things are always possible and you can make that your own way. And thank God, nobody's the same as anybody. I think that's the beauty. The difference between all of us, it makes the world even better. And jiu-jitsu-wise, it just makes us grow. I train with Jay. I always learn. I said, Jay, can you show me and observe? I'm a pretty good guy stealing techniques from people. And I just make up something and show back to them. They go to me like, wow, that is an awesome technique. But it's that own person technique.
Yeah.
And based on that, Marcel, who is Marcel Santos? Who is that guy? Who is that guy who had a hard time as a young man and overcome all these personal challenge that you have, become such a cool guy, successful artist, pretty damn good black belt in jiu-jitsu? Who is this guy?
Well, I don't even know how to. What do you mean? Who is this guy?
Who is Marcel Santos by your own words?
I'm just somebody who's persistent, man. I see something, I want it, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and I just never quit. I just don't quit, and this is one of the reasons why I'm wearing a black belt today, and this is one of the reasons why I got a career wise speaking. I've reached where I know I still have a long way to go. We're always learning in jiu-jitsu, and the same thing with art. It's always something new. You always better yourself, and the thing is just. I guess I'm just a person. I just don't like to make excuses, like I just come in on the mats every day. I never like, oh, I can't do it. I just train whatever. You could vouch, you got both you guys. How long have we been on the mats together? I never say no to training. I just live life to the fullest now. And that's what I tell you guys, man. Just, if you want to do something, go out and do it.
Yeah, I can tell from witness that you hustle. I know you're right on top. You don't stop until you get it, which is to me is a great quality as a human being, to never give up and pursue.
Oh yeah.
And everybody tells you, nah, I don't think so, and you say, okay, you don't do it for them. You do it to prove yourself that you are capable.
Yeah.
And you hustle. I know for sure. You get
yeah,
there.
man. The sleepless nights.
Let me ask you too: is what are the projects out there that you have? What are the new line? And another thing, why a lot of your arts are very beautiful women? Why is that?
I don't know, man. I don't know about you, but I prefer looking at women than looking at men. No offense to anybody. I'm just full disclaimer here. This is just a roast, But in all honesty, it's just it's a lot easier like to draw. Like every time I drew like a male character, they always ended up looking like Batman or Superman or Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? So, but women, it was just easier. Like it's because I like painting with paintbrushes, and the way that I draw my women, there's a lot of curves and a lot of lines that curve, and it's very cool calligraphy wise.
Oh, they're all very pretty for sure.
Yeah, but when I'm painting a male character or something like that, the lines are more square, and I like everything to be like every.
It's because you like video games.
I love video games, man. but yeah, that to answer your question, it's just people love to see you go to a friend's house, you go to galleries. Sometimes you see like a painting of a guy. You visit galleries, you visit friends' house, and they have art on the wall.
Feel the woman gets a better impact, or maybe send better the message.
It's easier on the eyes. It's easier on the eyes.
What are the projects out there for you? What it's Marcel planning to do in the near future?
Well, there's a lot of things that I can't talk about, but what I can talk about is because I had to postpone some of the projects because, the year that everybody had last year is I developed this new collection, that it's called Welcome to the Crossroads Show. It's a collection of paintings based on a script that I had written a long time ago when I was fresh out of high school, which, evidently I had to put away because I got to a point in my life, I was mature enough to say, okay, you know what? I haven't lived life long enough to play with a concept like this. But today, like I said, I'm 36 years old. I've been around the block once or twice, and I've seen some stuff, and I've seen how people act in the business. So I was like, okay, this is the time to put this project out. And man, I wasn't expecting, to be honest. I had low expectations, because I made a career painting pinup, right? But I couldn't paint anything else because I was under contract with some people, and I had to paint that. I had to keep painting that. I had to keep pumping money, for the people who signed me. And now that I'm free of that, I can do what I always wanted to do.
More creative.
On your mind.
Yeah,
I'm not bound by a contract or anything. Like, not that, don't get me wrong, not that I don't like painting pinups or I still implement that.
But you like to have that freedom of creation.
Absolutely. As an artist, like, that was torture to me. Wanting to do something and then have somebody, your manager or somebody, come up to me like, no. Let's do this because this brings money to the table. It was, in the beginning, it was fun. Everybody loves making money, but at a certain point, it's like, man, it's like watching the same movie over and over and over again. You just want to watch a different movie.
Oh yeah, you can't. You and I have talked about that. When you chase money, you kind of cheapen the gift, and it becomes work, and it's just not the same. You have to.
Yeah, man. And I remember me trying to tell my manager, look, I have this awesome awesome collection. Welcome to this Crossroads show. It's gonna be amazing. Let's do this. No. Like, this is not gonna achieve nothing. I swear to God, those were his words to me. Like, this is not gonna go anywhere. And that triggered me, man. I'm like, oh, you son of a gun. You're telling me that I can't, that's no, you tell me no, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a little bit of low expectations coming into this, but then, it got huge. And I don't know how, I have, my very first piece from that collection, Joe Rogan has in his studio. The second piece that I did for that collection, Russell Peters has in his home. You know what I mean? And those are two fantastic guys, two art lovers, and two people that I'm very proud to say that they have my stuff in their homes, or studios or whatnot. And after I posted those photos on social media, I kid you not, a week or two later, the same manager that told me that wasn't going to amount to nothing called me. Hey, man, let's work up a new contract, a new deal. Maybe we can outdo this thing after all, maybe it's gonna work after all. And then it gave me a lot of pleasure to tell them, like, look, man, I appreciate everything you've done for me in the past, but this is where we part ways. You know what I mean? I'm going my own way, my own direction. I can't have somebody telling me what I can and cannot paint ever again.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
And Marcel Santos, you see? And one thing I can take out of our conversation is, yes, if you do believe in yourself, always better days ahead of us. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. You just got to keep hacking at it, keep hustling.
Okay, I have a question real quick.
Shoot, Jay, is this going to be a roast question or a question?
Okay, this is kind of
just a question. What's the problem? It's just a question.
Way off point.
Just answer the question.
Let's do it.
But everyone knows that you're a diehard South Park fan.
Oh, absolutely, man.
So am I. So why Randy Marsh? Why is Randy Marsh? What is it about Randy Marsh that resonates with you? I even bought the
Randy mask.
The mask with the mustache.
Yeah. I was wearing the other day to Rouse. Everybody was looking at me because he had a little square mustache and he kind of looks like Hitler.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, I'm walking around Rouse looking like Hitler? Jay, you know what I mean? But South Park is something that it's just you gotta unwind, man. We go through shitty situations, we go through crappy situations, but South Park makes fun of that. When you can learn to make fun of hard times, like Jean-Jacques saying, he gets to the mats and he makes fun of his hand. You know what I mean? When you get to a point where you can make fun of something uncomfortable, everything is good. Everything is good. But Randy, man, I just love that character. He's my favorite South Park character because he just doesn't take no for an answer. And he wants something, he goes and gets it. He gets it done. You know what I mean?
So
like the episode where he wanted a prescription for his miracle marijuana and he got giant balls. Remember that one, Jay?
Testicular cancer, just so he get his medicinal card.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So he saw a problem, he saw something that he wanted, and then he said, "Dude, I'm gonna go get it." And not to that extreme, obviously. But
he make it happen.
Yeah,
he make it happen, man. So I love that. So absolutely.
That's funny.
Oh man, look, guys. We can be here for hours and days at Marcel and have so much that we know about each other, and we can have some great time, which we will have many other times. But thank you for being here today. Share just a little bit of your story, and I know I am, and a lot of people that definitely be inspired by, because a lot of people there they might not want to share their story, and they might be in the same situation. Then they realize, you know what? You can choose to live your life or not. And like you do and I do, we choose to live our lives and enjoy fully every single day.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Thanks, Jay, for being here.
Thanks,
Mike,
Marcel.
thank you.
Oh, thank you guys for
Marcel, see, it wasn't that bad. You see, expecting a lot of questions that give you a hard time. Well, wasn't that bad.
The thing is this, like when you know each other for like 20 years, you're just like, okay, there's going to be a lot of dirt in this table. You know what I mean?
Well, I know Jean-Jacques, before you showed up, I told him, I go, this is not going to be a podcast. It's going to be a roast.
Oh, man, we can definitely roast each other here.
He was really worried about it. Like, oh, no, I don't want to do the podcast with them.
My family's probably going to listen to this, so let's keep it light.
All right. Well, Marcel, once again, thank you. And looking forward to have you back. And
no, I'll come back.
And have some more stories. And it'll be pretty good stories. All right. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for another No Gi podcast.
Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Thank you, Jay,
Thank
Jean-Jacques,
you. Thank
Mike.
you.
Thank you so much.
See you guys soon.